Hey, it's me, Angey Lee. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about my accident. So we're going to be here a little while. So grab yourself a coffee, tea, settle in, get cozy, and I'm going to cue my story time intro.
Think about it right now. Everything's okay. No matter where you find yourself, no matter what kind of stuff is going on in your life, underneath it all, everything's actually alright. You're okay. You have more power than you might be giving yourself credit for. Maybe you have something that's going on in your life right now that's challenging, painful. It's just a reminder to take a little bit better care of yourself. You're worth it. You can have the skin inside your chest.
So welcome back. Now that you've got yourself a drink, all settled in, let's get into the story. Now I've tried filming this a few times now, unsuccessfully, obviously. That's why it's taken so long to get out for you. It's a hard story to tell, and I'm not exactly sure where to begin. So I think I'll begin from the very beginning. When I was 14, I had my first fall, and I was not overweight yet. And I really injured my left ankle very badly. And I injured it a few times every year ever since then. And because of that injury, I was slower, and I let that be an excuse for me to not get better and not get stronger. I used it as an excuse to slow me down. So there come a time when my legs were weak, and I would try to work a full-time job, and my hours had to be cut back to the point where I was only working 3-hour shifts 4 days a week. And after work, I would get off work and I would have to sit with my feet up all night because my legs would be swollen. And they just couldn't handle the weight of carrying my 300-pound body. So after that store closed and I was no longer working, I asked my doctor if I could take some time to strengthen myself. So I started doing some, I had already been working on my mental health for a long time. But I started strengthening my physical health and strengthening my legs, and I started going to the gym. I went to a program that was run by an exercise specialist, and well, first I had a few appointments with an exercise specialist who taught me some stretches and things that I could do to help relieve some of the pain while I got stronger, because it's also very painful carrying around this extra weight everywhere. So then I did a course, a program at the gym with an exercise specialist, and I was doing, working out 2 to 3 days a week, which to a lot of people probably isn't a lot, but to somebody like me, that is a lot. And I was trying to walk more and get out more and be more active. So last year, fall was coming. It was coming quick. And I wanted to get out while the weather was still beautiful. So, and I was making terrariums, wanting to make terrariums. So I was going out collecting moss for these terrariums, and I thought it's a beautiful day out. And I'm gonna go down to the river valley in the city, and I'm gonna collect some moss. I didn't find a whole lot of moss. I did find some. But as I was about to head home, I had seen a patch of moss that was just off the sidewalk, just off the beaten track, down a little ramp. And it had just started raining, so there, it was a little bit, tiny bit muddy, but not really. So I decided that I was going to go down there and collect this moss. Okay. So I came out of the elevator, which is there, and I turned right to admire the beauty, the view. It's gorgeous. And I'm gonna find where I was when I fell. Right, and there's the bridge that I was under, so I know I'm close. But after I fell, I didn't think about the fact that I was, had just walked here. Like, I didn't register what I had just walked past. Walking along the side looking for moss, and I saw some right down that trail. A lot of moss right down this little trail. So I started going, and I'm pretty sure where I actually slipped was on that rock. I tried grabbing those little branches there. That was not going to hold me up. So that's where I fell. And I could see, kind of the angle of what I could see was the bridge and the sky. I couldn't really see anything, so kind of ruined the beauty, but it is very beautiful down here. All I can say is my body started to slip. Oh, speaking of slipping, there goes my cat. Hi, baby. So my body started to slip, and that's the only way I can describe it. I'm watching my legs as my body is sliding, and my feet, my foot kind of stuck, and it kind of stuck, and it kind of twisted up against my leg as my leg was sliding, and I heard the crack. It was so loud. It sounded like a tree breaking in half. It was so loud. I knew I broke it instantly. And I didn't realize at the time the damage that I had also done to my knee, my right knee. So here I am on the ground, and I'm looking down at my foot, which is completely up against my leg, twisted backwards. I noted that it's severely broken. I don't see any bleeding. That's a good thing, because I did completely sever my foot from my leg. When I fell, I was lucky that my bones didn't pierce the skin. I went to put my leg down on the ground, and there was, I could feel like my bone poking my skin, and I knew that if I tried to put it down, like it was painful, and I knew that if I tried to put it down, that it was going to pierce through the skin. So I kind of slid backwards a bit until it was kind of straightened out, and then gently laid my leg down on some branches so that my foot was kind of still up a bit. And I'm breathing trying very hard to control my breathing, because I was by myself and I was off the path, out of view of people, and I knew that if I went into shock, that was going to be a very bad situation. It was about 6 o'clock, and it was right along the river, so it's getting to be dusk. It's a bad area to be injured at dusk, especially. So I started yelling for help. I was yelling that I had broke my ankle and I was down there alone. And I reached for my purse and dialed 911 and called 911 to come and help me. I also had to have them contact my mom to get in touch with my son, who was 11 years old at the time and at home by himself. So that was very scary for me. Very scary. I had a little bit of trauma afterwards. I would feel like I was falling, and I would, just, it would startle. I would get startled. I don't feel like that anymore. I haven't felt that in a very long time. But when I was on the phone with 911, another big mistake I made, I didn't know exactly where I was. I knew that I was underneath a bridge, and I was downtown. I had just gotten off of, this elevator thing that's downtown, and turn this direction. I was right underneath a bridge, but I wasn't exactly sure where I was. And luckily, somebody did hear me, and he was able to say we're right at this bridge, and so he was going to go over and wait for the ambulance and flag them to where I was at. So, as I'm on the phone with 911, I'm explaining to them that I am a large woman and they need to be prepared for that when they come. And of course, they weren't prepared for that when they come. And luckily, I could just kind of laugh about it, but they had to get they had to call in the fire department to come in with a lift. I'll insert a picture here. And what this lift is they jimmy it underneath you, and then 5 or 6 men, will lift you up and carry you onto the gurney to get you into the ambulance. So that was my experience there. Then I got to the hospital and they gave me the gas, and I was there for hours. It was hours before I finally went and they knocked me out and they reset it and bandaged me up. But then after all that, it was 3 days later, it was on the 4th, that I ended up having surgery. Surgery was tough. I couldn't put any weight on my legs after surgery. So I was over 330 pounds at the time. And I couldn't put any weight on my legs. And I'm a single mom of a preteen child. So I tell you, life was really, really tough during that time, during that period. So I'm going to take a little bit of an intermission. My voice is getting a little bit hard to talk. I've been talking a lot here. I have tried to film this video a few times, and so we'll take a little bit of an intermission, and we'll be back. So with the rest of the story, with coming home from the hospital and recovery and all that. So cue the intermission. Okay, so let's try to get into part 2 of the video, recovery. So, in the hospital, it wasn't very hard at all. You basically laid in a bed and, did a little bit of physio, wiggled your toes. Getting home from the hospital was tough. I live in an apartment on the 3rd floor. So there's steps. I'll insert a picture. There's some steps coming up into the apartment. And then these steps going up to the floor that I live on. Now, I tried going in with crutches. I couldn't put absolutely any weight on my left leg, and putting weight on my right was excruciatingly painful. So I managed to get up the cement steps outside, but then when I went to get into the first door, I fell. I ended up injuring my arm as well, which when you're in a wheelchair, that's not a good idea. So when I fell, I didn't even bother, I tried to get up, but it was really difficult, and I couldn't. So I crawled over to the steps and crawled up the steps. And when you're crawling up and down steps all the time, it's really painful on your knees when you're over 300 pounds. I ended up because I was going to be in a wheelchair for a long time, I got Amazon Prime. So I ended up ordering some knee pads and some gloves. I'll insert pictures of them here. So that I could, go up and down the stairs without pain, so much pain in my knees and my hands. And they also helped. I always wore them using the wheelchair because my hands you would get blisters on your hands from using a wheelchair. Trying to reach for stuff all the time. I couldn't reach anything on the floor because I'm too fat. My fat would get in the way. So for the first little while, I would have to ask my son to get anything and everything for me that I dropped, which I was on a lot of painkillers, so I was constantly dropping stuff. And I didn't have a very comfortable chair to sit in either. Like, I would transfer from the wheelchair to a chair. I watched a lot of wheelchair videos when I was first in the wheelchair, learning how to bathe, how to transfer, how to do all this stuff. I got a shower bench for showering, and a handle put in, and a hose put in so that I could shower, which is fine. I love it. I still use it to this day. It's really changed my life, and I think anybody that has any kind of issues showering should get one. I'm a very clean person. I shower every day because if I don't, I get rashes. And even if I do shower every day, you still get rashes because you have folds and stuff, and you sweat in those folds, and it's really gross and TMI. But I don't like that. It's uncomfortable and painful and itchy, and so I shower every day to prevent that. And it's a lot easier, and you can get to a lot more areas if you're able to sit down to do it, especially when you're obese. So back to recovery. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but my son, he was 11, and he had to do a lot of he had to grow up a lot, because being an obese person in a wheelchair, I couldn't really do anything really, like I couldn't stand up to do the dishes. I couldn't kneel to do the dishes. My knees were injured. So he had to do the dishes. He had to do, all the cleaning. I did vacuum the floor. I'll insert a picture for you. I tried to do anything that I could do. I tried to not put too much pressure on my son, even though I know it was a lot of pressure. And I'm really thankful that he was already in therapy at the time, so he's not anymore, thankfully. He's in a really good place now. We're both in a much better place. I'll get into that story one day about my mental breakdown, but that's going to be a really tough video to film. But yeah, we're in a better place now. But anyways, having him in therapy at the time was really helpful, because he had somebody to talk to about all the changes that he had to go through, and the extra responsibilities that were just like thrust at him because I couldn't do anything all of a sudden. I went from doing everything to doing nothing. He had to do the laundry. He had to, and our laundry isn't in our apartment, it's down the hall. You know, like he had to learn how to do that. He had to go get the mail. He had to, you know, go shopping. That was always quite the experience. I purchased something called a Sturdy Birdie. I'll put a picture of it online. I'll put a picture of it in for you. I bought it off Amazon. It goes up the stairs the way the wheels are shaped. You can haul it up the stairs and it kind of crawls up the stairs. It's really nice. But I bought that for him to go shopping with because I had to send him shopping all the time. And he would call me and I would tell him what we needed, and I would try to go off memory to tell him where things were in the store, and it was really hard. Really hard. Anything I could, though, I ordered off Amazon and didn't get him to get. You know, it was mainly just food. But because he was doing the shopping and the cooking and the cleaning and everything and going to school, and he was new to it all. It was such a huge responsibility for a young child. He did amazing. But we started, you know, eating microwavable foods, TV dinners, pizza pops, you know, like we couldn't go to the food bank anymore because I wasn't able to go. So we started eating very unhealthy. And at the end of the year, now my cholesterol is high. So I've got to try to get that lower. And so after I was in the wheelchair for 4 months, I basically came out of it in February. And then it was a very slow process, but I was determined to get out of it as quickly as I could. I did have home care come in and show me, you know, work with me, physiotherapists come in and work with me at home to show me, you know, things to strengthen, some exercises to strengthen. If you're interested in learning what some of those are, let me know, and I might do a video on those, on all the very light exercises that I did during my recovery and still do. Things are a little bit different though, because I can move a lot easier. But I would do, like, I would start doing the dishes, and basically I would get up and I would, you know, get everything organized to do the dishes, but then I'd have to sit down for a while, and then I would get up again and I would do a few dishes for like maybe 2 minutes, and then I'd have to sit down again. You know, like it took hours to do a load of dishes because I could only do them in like 2-minute increments. And cleaning the house, I could only do, you know, a little bit at a time because everything had to be done, you know, with such extreme pacing. That it was tough to do, but I did it. I didn't have a choice, right? And people ask me, how'd you do it? Well, you don't have a choice. You either do it or you don't. I did. Then it came to getting out of the house and going out. Which, while I was in the wheelchair, I only went out for appointments, follow-up appointments, absolutely necessary doctor's appointments and follow-up appointments. Regarding my ankle. But then afterwards, when I started going out again, when the snow melted and I started going out, so that would have been like March, April. I could go down, like, I'd go down the steps, and then I'd have, like, the steps to my apartment, and then I'd sit there and rest for a few minutes, and then I'd get up, and then I'd walk. I'll insert some pictures here. I'd walk to this point, and then I'd have to stop and rest, and then I'd walk across the parking lot to this point, and then I'd stop and rest, you know, and then before I'd cross the street, and then after I crossed the intersections, I would stop and rest. Oftentimes when I first started walking again, even at the intersections, you know, at a red light, I would often sit down, because it's painful to stand. It still is, and it's been a year since my accident, just over a year since my accident. It's still painful. It was painful to stand before. It's even more painful to stand now. So, but that was the way that I did it, you know, little bits at a time. Now I can walk for a good half hour, 40 minutes before I've got to sit down and rest. Sometimes I overdo it though, and then I crash. But that's more to do with, I have Hashimoto's. It's an autoimmune condition. It affects your thyroid, which affects your metabolism, and there's a lot of complications with it. Anyway, that's besides the point. That just slows everything down even more. So when I went shopping, when I went grocery shopping, when I started shopping, I absolutely refused to use a scooter. Like, I refused to use a shopping scooter. No way. No friggin' way. I would bring my son with me when I first started shopping, and we would, you know, I'd get a few things, and then I would sit down and rest. You know, I listened to my body very much. When my body had had enough and needed to rest, I would let it rest, and it only takes a couple of minutes. Like, letting it rest doesn't mean you sit down for an hour. It means you sit down for a couple of minutes until the pain is dulled, and then you get up and you go again, you know, and that's how you get stronger, because eventually that pain is a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less, and you can move a little bit longer and a little bit longer and a little bit longer and a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So that's it's such a slow process, but that's how you do it, you know. That was in March and April, and now we're into October. I'm pretty no, almost October, not quite. I'm pretty active, relatively. Like, I walk a lot. My new shoes are already wearing out, and I don't know if they're gonna last until I can get new ones. You know, and I try to be as active as I can. I've gotten back to doing all the housework, and my son has gotten back to being a kid. He does still help with a lot. There are still some things that I can't do, or even though, like, I could do it, I really struggle to do. Like, I get him to take out the garbage. I get him to help with things that are, like, down on the floor. I've got a lot of back issues, especially since I have neuralgia in my spine. So I've got a lot of back issues that makes it harder. Well, I can do it, but it's painful. So if he can help me out that way, he will. And when I wait, I make sure to go grocery shopping when he's going to be home, so that he can help me carry the things upstairs. And I try to carry as much as I can upstairs, but honestly, he does most of the heavy lifting. But he appreciates that I try to. I don't just sit back and make him do all the work. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it's right either. So, yeah, that's basically it. I was supposed to start a rehabilitation program for chronic pain at the chronic pain clinic in August, but I ended up sick with shingles. So when I called and told them that and had to postpone the appointment, I thought it might be postponed, for a few weeks, but they're postponing it till after my follow-up appointment with the doctor at the clinic, which isn't until October, so that's kind of frustrating. But in the meantime, I still go to the gym when I can. I like the recumbent bike, and there's a couple of machines that I work with my arms on, but not a lot. And I do a lot of cardio in the pool, in the swimming pool, and balancing. I practice balancing in the swimming pool as well. But the cardio that I do in the swimming pool, it's basically I start off upstairs at the gym and do the recumbent bike and work out my arms on the machines up there. Then I go downstairs to the pool and then do some balance stuff and warm up a bit. Then I do intermittent cardio for about 20 minutes. Then I go to the hot tub for about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. Then I go back to the pool for another 15 to 20 minutes of intermittent cardio. Or if it's a really poor, like if I'm a really sore day, the second time I go back in the pool, I just kind of float around and move around and swim, have fun in the water. And then I go back into the hot tub for another 20 minutes or so before I head home. So that's my gym workout. So yeah, I'm gonna put in some clips of some. Hey, so it's a beautiful day to come out for a walk, and I wanted to show you that I am out for a walk. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, the breeze is nice, it's nice and quiet on this street. I was just on a really busy street and thought while I'm walking and enjoying the walk, I'd come to a slower street, a quieter street. I had to slow down to record because I do use a walker when I walk. After my accident, and I had to start using a walker, which no shame, to still using it. I get very off balance, especially if the ground is not even. So for my own safety, and also so that I can choose to walk rather than take the bus, where I'm walking to. I took the bus to my far destination, went to that location, and then my next destination on the way home is about 14 blocks, and I decided to walk that because it's so beautiful out and the weather is not gonna last this nice for that long because I live in Canada. It's gonna get effing cold. So yeah, so I decided to walk, and having the walker gives me the option to do that because then I can choose to sit down if I get tired and rest for a couple of minutes and then get up and go again. And that's how I got stronger. You don't get stronger by walking for 2 minutes around a tree and then going home and being done for the day. A walk, put a bench at the end of that tree. so that you can walk to that tree, sit down, and then go again, you know, or something, you know, walk further, try to walk more and more every day. And that's what I did. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that I'm out for a walk. I am slowed right down because I'm holding my walker with one hand and I'm filming and I'm trying to pay attention to where I'm going. But it is absolutely beautiful out, and the leaves are all falling off the trees. Oh, it's so peaceful. I'm coming to a curb here. I'm gonna have to I don't know if I can do this at the same time. Let's try. Whoa. Yeah, see. Stability, safety, no shame, take it easy, and that's how you get stronger. Anyway, so that's my walk. I'm gonna keep going, and yeah, continue on. Bye. Wanted to jump on and mention that another great thing about walking is that you discover places, beautiful scenic places that you didn't even know existed. Like, hopefully I scanned that right and you can see that properly. And there's another one over here. Just nice grassy areas, tables, picnic benches, and like, I've come across so many beautiful places through my walk. It's been so beautiful. I love it. I love walking. I think I might be satisfied with the editing of this video so far, so yay. I'll talk to you next time. Have a good one. Bye.